Benny was a cheerful boy with a big imagination. He loved to draw. Benny would draw everywhere. He drew on paper, on walls, even on his own shoes. One sunny morning, Benny was drawing in his room. He was drawing a big, bright sunflower. He wished he could hop into the picture and sit amongst the petals. Suddenly, Benny's tummy rumbled. "I'm hungry!" He put down his crayons and decided to go find some yummy snacks. On his way to the kitchen, Benny spotted something strange. There was a new shop on his street. It had a bright purple door and a wonky sign that read, "Mr. Tibbins' Oddities." "I love anything odd!" He peeked inside the shop. It was full of peculiar things. There were jars filled with colorful liquids, dusty books with strange symbols, and even a hat that seemed to be winking at him. Behind the counter stood a kind-looking old man with a long white beard. "Welcome, young man! Welcome to Mr. Tibbins' Oddities! What catches your fancy?" Benny's eyes darted around the shop. Finally, they landed on a small silver paintbrush tucked away in a corner. It shimmered faintly, as if covered in moonlight. "How much for that paintbrush, sir?" Benny asked, pointing. "Ah, that's no ordinary brush, young man. That's a magical paintbrush. But I'll let you have it for the price of a smile." Benny grinned, his cheeks already aching. Back home, Benny dipped the brush into his red paint. As soon as the brush touched the paper, something incredible happened. The red paint on the page began to wriggle. Then it transformed into a beautiful red apple, right there on his desk. Benny was amazed. He spent the whole afternoon bringing his drawings to life. He painted a bouncy blue ball that bounced around the room and a mischievous monkey that swung from the lampshade. Later that day, Benny's best friend Lucy came over to play. Lucy had bright eyes and the biggest laugh Benny knew. He couldn't wait to show her his magical brush. "Wow, Benny! This is amazing! What are you going to paint next?" "You should paint a dragon! A big green friendly dragon!" "I love this idea." Benny picked up the silver paintbrush and started to paint. He painted a big green dragon with kind eyes and shimmering scales. He decided to call him Zephyr. As soon as Benny finished the last detail, Zephyr blinked his eyes, stretched his wings, and let out a gentle puff of smoke. He was alive. "Wow, Zephyr is amazing!" Zephyr loved playing with Benny and Lucy. He would join them for picnics, blow bubbles with his smoky breath, and even let them ride on his back. But there was one problem. Zephyr was growing bigger and bigger every day. At first, it was fun having a giant dragon around. The villagers had never seen anything like Zephyr before. His scales shimmered in the sunlight, and his eyes sparkled with kindness. Children would gather around him, their faces lighting up with joy as he performed playful tricks. Zephyr's presence brought a sense of wonder and excitement to the village, making every day feel like a grand adventure. Zephyr would help Benny reach high branches on trees and fetch Lucy's lost kites. He was always eager to lend a helping claw, whether it was lifting heavy loads for the farmers or lighting up the night with his fiery breath during village festivals. The villagers quickly grew fond of their new friend, appreciating his gentle nature and willingness to assist. But soon, Zephyr became too big for the village. His once endearing size now posed a challenge. The narrow streets and small houses were not designed to accommodate a dragon of his magnitude. As he moved around, he unintentionally caused disruptions, his massive form overshadowing the quaint village structures. His tail knocked over fences, his wings blew away laundry, and his sneezes shook the ground. The once peaceful village was now in a constant state of chaos. Zephyr tried to be careful, but his size made it difficult to avoid causing damage. The villagers' initial excitement began to wane as they faced the daily challenges of living with a giant dragon. The villagers started to worry. They held meetings to discuss the situation, their faces etched with concern. They loved Zephyr and didn't want to hurt his feelings, but they couldn't ignore the problems his presence was causing. The village elders debated various solutions, but none seemed feasible. They loved Zephyr, but he was causing quite a stir. The children still adored him, and many villagers had grown attached to the dragon. However, the practical issues could not be overlooked. They needed to find a way to keep both Zephyr and the village safe and happy. They went to see Benny. Benny had always been close to Zephyr and understood him better than anyone else. The villagers hoped he could come up with a solution that would work for everyone. They gathered around Benny, their eyes filled with hope and desperation. Benny, Zephyr is a wonderful dragon, but he needs more space. We can't keep living like this. The village is too small for him now. We need to find a place where he can be free and not cause any trouble. What are we going to do? The villagers looked at each other, puzzled and unsure. They had never faced a problem like this before. Benny scratched his head, deep in thought. He knew they needed a plan, but the solution wasn't immediately clear. Benny felt his heart sink. He loved Zephyr and didn't want to see him go. The thought of losing his friend was unbearable. He looked down, feeling the weight of the villagers' expectations and the responsibility to find a solution. He hadn't meant to cause any trouble. Benny had only wanted to help when he befriended Zephyr. Now he was faced with a difficult decision. He needed to think carefully and come up with a plan that would work for everyone. He knew he had to find a solution. Benny took a deep breath, determination filling his heart. He couldn't let his friend Zephyr become a nuisance. He had to find a way to keep Zephyr in their lives without causing any more problems. He couldn't let his friend Zephyr become a nuisance. Benny looked at Zephyr with concern, knowing that the dragon trusted him. He had to come up with a plan that would allow Zephyr to stay while ensuring the village's safety and peace. Benny thought long and hard. He had always been a creative child, often lost in his own world of imagination. But this time his thoughts were more focused, more determined. He knew that Zephyr, his dragon friend, needed a new home, a place where he could be safe and happy, away from the dangers that lurked in their current world. He looked at his magical paintbrush, a gift from his grandmother. It had the power to bring his drawings to life. Benny had used it many times before, but never for something this important. He knew he had to get it just right. He knew what he had to do. With a determined look on his face, Benny made up his mind. He would create a sanctuary for Zephyr, a place where the dragon could live freely and joyfully. He took a deep breath and started to paint. Each stroke of the brush was filled with love and care. Benny imagined a world where Zephyr could fly without fear, where the skies were always clear and the land was full of wonders. He painted a vast, beautiful island in the sky, hidden amongst the clouds. This island would be Zephyr's new home, a place untouched by the troubles of their current world. This island had sparkling waterfalls, lush green meadows, and fields of flowers that bloomed in every color imaginable. Benny wanted Zephyr to have a place where he could explore and discover new things every day, and caves filled with crystals. These caves would be Zephyr's sanctuary, a place where he could rest and feel safe. The crystals would light up the caves with a magical glow, making them feel warm and inviting. It was the perfect home for a growing dragon. Benny imagined Zephyr exploring every corner of the island, discovering new places to play and rest. He wanted Zephyr to feel like he belonged, like this island was made just for him. When he was finished, Benny showed the painting to Zephyr. The dragon's eyes lit up with excitement as he looked at the beautiful island Benny had created. "This is for you, Zephyr," Benny said, his voice filled with love and pride. He wanted Zephyr to know how much he cared, how much he wanted him to be happy. "It's a place where you can be free and happy." Benny continued, explaining all the wonderful things about the island. He told Zephyr about the waterfalls, the meadows, and the crystal caves. He wanted Zephyr to know that this island was his new home, a place where he could be himself. Zephyr loved his new home. He could already imagine himself flying over the island, exploring every nook and cranny. He felt a sense of peace and happiness that he had never felt before. He gave Benny and Lucy a big hug with his giant paws, wrapping them in a warm embrace. He was grateful for their friendship and for the beautiful gift they had given him. then soared into the sky towards his new island. As he flew, he looked back at Benny and Lucy, knowing that he would always have friends who cared about him. Zephyr felt a sense of freedom and joy as he soared through the clouds, ready to start his new life on the island. Benny missed Zephyr, but he knew he had done the right thing. Zephyr had been his closest friend, always by his side during their magical adventures. But Benny had to make a tough decision. He had to let Zephyr go to help someone in need. It was a bittersweet moment, but Benny understood that sometimes doing the right thing meant making sacrifices. He learned that even though magic was amazing, it was important to use it responsibly. Benny realized that magic wasn't just about having fun or making life easier for himself. It was a powerful tool that could make a real difference in the world. He had to be careful and thoughtful about how he used it. This newfound understanding gave Benny a sense of purpose and direction. From that day on, Benny used his magical paintbrush to help others. He started small, painting little things that brought joy to his friends and family. But soon, he realized that he could do so much more. Benny began to look for ways to use his magic to solve problems and make life better for everyone around him. He painted warm coats for people in the winter, ensuring that no one had to suffer from the cold. The coats were not just ordinary coats. They were imbued with a touch of magic that made them extra warm and cozy. People were amazed and grateful for Benny's thoughtful gifts. Bountiful harvests for farmers in the summer, helping them grow more food than ever before. The farmers were struggling with poor soil and unpredictable weather, but Benny's magical touch transformed their fields into lush, productive lands. The community thrived, and there was plenty of food for everyone, and even a new roof for Mr. Tibbins' shop after a storm. The storm had caused significant damage, and Mr. Tibbins was worried about how he would afford the repairs. But Benny's magic made the roof as good as new, and Mr. Tibbins was able to reopen his shop and continue serving the community. Thank you, Benny. You have a kind heart. The words of gratitude from those he helped filled Benny with a warm, glowing feeling. He realized that his actions were making a real difference in people's lives, and that was the greatest reward of all. Benny realized that the true magic wasn't just about bringing drawings to life. It was about the impact those drawings could have on the world. His paintbrush was a tool for good, and he was determined to use it to spread kindness and joy wherever he could. The true magic was in using his gift to bring joy and happiness to everyone around him. Benny's heart swelled with pride and happiness as he saw the smiles on people's faces. He knew that he was on the right path, and that his magic was a force for good in the world. And that was the most magical thing of all. Benny's journey had taught him the true meaning of magic, and he was excited to continue using his gift to make the world a better place. The end.